happy new week. We are here with episode 3, just for the Irish folk. So hope you all had a good week. Last week we talked a little bit about creativity, how sometimes we lose creativity in the sessions as the years go on, maybe as we become more familiar with the group, etc. So I want to tie in, Nick, something in the early stages of this, right? Around something I saw with a clip, and Eddie Jones talked about it this week. They go to a meeting, they set up a meeting or they set up a training session and they don't turn up. And they look and see, now they've got maybe more money, more resources, but they look and see on the cameras who takes the leadership. And it got me thinking, right, strip it back. Say it's, a pitch, under floodlights, or on a Sunday morning like with your group, where we don't have oceans of money and possibly some safeguarding if they're younger. Like, what does a session, or have you thought about a session where you're not talking as much, you're stepping back a little bit from the session, an assistant coach is leading? What might you see? And those are the thoughts when I was listening to that, going, what a cool idea to challenge the environment and see what skills people do, where the leaders are and how they come up. And then people might go, oh no, our group is too young, or they're too this and they're too that. You made some really good points last week about the Isle of Man session, where the kid came up with that. So what are your thoughts on that? Or how do you think that could work? Is it too dangerous?
No, I think it's something that we should be doing, not the fact that it's too dangerous. I did it with kids, and under 10s, we were playing away at West Ham, actually.
Right.
And we always used to turn up about an hour and a half before the game kicked off. And bear in mind, kids have got to travel from all over London and some of the home counties, etc. So all the kids arrived, got into the change rooms, and I said to the kids, I've had a nightmare. I've left the kit at the training ground. It was in the boot of my car.
Okay. I was like, faster.
Yeah. So like, we can't get changed. We can't go and warm up. Right. We'll just have to, we'll go out, we'll have a walk around the pitch and we'll kind of fill some time. Because I was really interested in seeing how the kids would respond to the normal routine that we have pre-match being thrown up in the air. Because sometimes that happens, you get stuck in traffic, but you've got kick-off time. Yeah. And, you get a 6-minute warm-up. So I brought the kit back out with about 15 minutes to go. I said, somebody's brought it now. Right, quick, right, we've got 15 minutes to get changed. But in that time, a couple of the kids just couldn't handle just managing themselves, which was brilliant because it meant it gave us something to talk about as a development point. One kid didn't play because he started like kind of just jumping on and just getting very over enthusiastic with one of the other kids, to the point of I had to go and say to his mum and said, look, this is what's happened. He's not playing today because of what he's just done to this other kid. Wow. And she was bang on board. She was like, yeah, no problem at all. So out we go, 6-minute warm up. Right, you got to go play. Off you go. What are you going to do in that 6 minutes to get the most of it? But you've got to be ready to play. And it was a fascinating thing to try and do, just to step back and just watch the kids, right? And see how the kids coped. But it was done with knowing that we were going to do some stuff the following week to talk about it and bring it into other things. It wasn't just drop them in and leave them. It was then, right, well, let's on Tuesday, right, what happened? How did you deal with that when you couldn't have your normal kind of, like, what did we do? So it's well worth trying for definitely as a coach with the kids, or maybe just to let your assistant or somebody else that works with you to take a lead. Yeah, be really interesting to try.
I mean, it really pulls in a load of different areas, whether you do it, if you're fortunate enough to have breaks in play, like in, say, the basketball world, who leads your timeouts? Who leads your halftime sessions? In football, who leads the halftime? I know we're looking at invasion sports there, but even in the plan, do, review space, Like, how do you do those reviews? You're saying brilliant to have a plan for the following session, the following Tuesday, to think about some of those discussions we might have and unpick it. And it'd be amazing to see what came out of that actually at another point. But in the review stage, I saw on Twitter during the week, you put out like asking good questions in the review. So we're talking about the doing part and disrupting that and co-creating, not having your minutiae detail of like 901 going to do this, 908 going to do this, like being okay with saying, oh, you know what, I've read this a little bit, the assistant coach or the athletes of players can come back to me with something, let's change it up, let's ask them what they see, what they'd like to do, or for the next session. But when you tap into the review, what kind of questions, away from the recall questions that happen primarily maybe in school that we carry in of what did you learn today, what kind of questions do you think would be useful?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Yeah, I think where I was going with that was if you look at high performance athletes, or I guess anybody, you don't have to be a high performance athlete, but anybody with a real purpose about something that they're trying to achieve, every session has a purpose. So they're going into it being really clear on why I'm doing this. So it's not just I get on my bike and go out for an hour. I get on my bike and I'm doing this interval training session or this because of what I'm trying to build up and work towards. But I was just kind of pondering really about if the players were able to kind of co-create what they wanted to really focus on, but that becomes the review. So we were trying to achieve this. Did we achieve that? What didn't we get about it? What did we find tricky about trying to achieve that? What was the focus of our learning? Where did we kind of shine up? What did we? Those kind of detailed questions, I think, are the interesting ones. But really focus on what is the key objective that we're trying to get out of this. Not it's a session on passing or running with the ball or dribbling in my kind of football world. But what is it specifically that you as an individual want to try and get better? Then review against whether you did or you didn't, and what was useful, what do you need to keep from that, what do you need to do differently, what do you need to add to it, all of those kind of things. And then what you take from that informs the next one along.
Yeah.
Whereas quite often they don't then. That, I guess that was probably where I was going with it.
No, it landed with me because I was talking to some of the West Ham coaches during the week, and that exact point came up. Like, not again in the nitty gritty kind of really rigid way of this is the objective and this is what we're going to get out of it. It's like setting the scene and a little bit of the me and the we. So like, what am I focusing on and bringing to the session? And then what are we looking, and then checking in at different stages so it's measurable. So again, depending on the resources that you have, but if you're doing a shooting drill, are you doing it for the sake of doing it? What are you focusing on? Do the athletes know how to correct, you know, a technique, a shot? Are they feeling their way through it? Do they have the option to feel their way through it? Or is it, this is the only way? So I thought that really, it struck a chord with me during the week, because that's what we're trying to explore, to get into that like quality of knowing where you're at. Now, some of the coaches that I work with in a coach development space, they mic themselves up. So they'll mic themselves up, record the brief, park the recording, the phone, whatever it is, and then record the debrief or the review part, and then go, oh, well, Miles' part, but is that okay? And then share that in the brief of the week, the following week. So yeah.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever mic'd yourself up?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
What did you learn?
When the first time I did it, or I found that there was a lot of things I was saying in one go. Surprise, surprise, haha. So 4 sentences in a row, 4 questions in a row. And our first session our first episode on this, I talked about that coach doing the 5 words in one sentence, short, snappy, effective, checking in with the language. So I was aware of what I wanted to do, thought I was doing that, and just the eagerness, the passion came out, and I was asking a question and then 2 after it. So I was like, how are they answering that? How am I sense checking this? Where's my pauses? So brutal is the answer. Absolutely brutal in the first couple of times, and getting used to then listening to myself. And the importance is parking a few minutes to do that. Now I do it after every interaction I have with a coach. I record most or all of the Zoom calls I have with coaches, listen back to the question. So I've eliminated the accent, the question. I now look at like the reaction I'm having, they're having, those kind of things, a deeper layer of it, like critically kind of looking at it. But yeah, I would encourage anyone to do it. Like £5 on Amazon, get yourself a mic and connect it to the phone and see what comes out of it. You know, even without going into the nitty gritty, some coaches, when they listen to for the first time, say, do I actually sound like that? Gosh, I'm really boring or monotone. And but yeah, so linking to that was cool. I mean, I mentioned CD there, I mentioned coach development. How how important do you think it is to have somebody as a coach?
Yeah, I can't remember who I had this conversation with last week. That so where I kind of, when I look at the sports coaching world at the moment, I don't know if we spoke about it, but I think sports science had a big revolution kind of 15 years ago. So sports science, S&C became this big thing, and they just started to massively influence and probably lead, until coaches kind of pulled the reins in a bit. They started to lead coaching. You know, this player is in the red zone, they can't do any more. I'm like, well, okay, right. So that started to lead stuff until I think coaches found a bit of a happy medium. I think we're in a bit of a performance analysis, one of them at the moment, with data before we kind of, I think we'll wind that in a little bit as well. The amount of data, well, Jenny can run this and she can do that and she did this amount. Did you realize that Jenny's dog died this morning? And that might be why she's not doing as much. We drill so far into one thing that we kind of forget the person. I think the next one along will be sports psychology. And I think the coach developer, having a coach developer mentor being the absolute norm, maybe 10 to 15 years away.
Oh,
but I think we have to massively accelerate that because of how important it is, how vital it is to have somebody. But I think a lot of people have other people informally, somebody that they might go to, whether in their sport, a mate, someone else that they coach, or they have different platforms, etc., to do. But having somebody there to come and watch you coach, to help you, to guide you, I think it's so important. Yeah. Just, we all make mistakes. I mean, I've made a fairly large one today, and such a fool. And people in coaching have probably done them before, so they can probably help you avoid some of those mistakes that they might have made. So I think there's definitely real value in that. But I mean, look, this is what you do, right? So how many coaches that you work with, is it the norm for them to have a coach developer, or is it just that more informal peer type space they work in normally?
Yeah, I saw a few responses to a comment on Twitter during the week around, you don't, a coach developer can't make an impact, or you don't need this, you don't need that. And I guess each to their own, but what I found working across, I think at June, where there was an overlap, there was 17 Olympic sports, 17 different sports that I was working with, 17 people, or 30 people actually. And it's in some cases they didn't know how. So we explore, like, what does a coach developer do? What is it? How can I use that person? I don't really know you. You don't really know my sport. Actually, that's a kind of cool thing. You're not here to judge me on my tax skills. You actually are not in control whether I get a promotion or not. So I can trust you. And obviously that's up to me to create, and us to create that space together. But like, when I was thinking about the mentors that people possibly have, as you said, organically. So a friend that becomes a critical friend that you trust, so can have that honest feedback to you. I think it's essential to have one. I absolutely 100%. And the coaches that I work with, they would say they've chose to navigate, and I've just scaffolded with different nudges and prods along the way with different bits of information. So I may go watch them and video, or support them in a conversation, or it may be a Zoom call or a phone call. And some of those will go off on personal tangents. Some of those will go straight into coaching stuff and go, Jen, what do you think of this? This happened today. Or we'll jump into a community of practice where coaches will get together and talk coaching shop for a while. And you know, the ask for help thing, where I'm really kind of torn on this is, yes, I 100% passionately believe that it's important to have a critical friend, a coach, developer, a mentor. Flip it to the other side. Is it easy to make that connection with somebody if you don't have one as an adult? Like, we moved house recently. There's a doggy club over in the field. I'm a friendly person. I'm very open. I want the dog to have friends. I go down, we stand in a crop circle formation, and nobody talks. It is really awkward. And it makes me feel really uncomfortable. But we stand there because the dog has 10 dogs to play with for that duration. And it got me thinking on the walk back, like, well, what do you say? What, like, hi? And then if they choose not to, do you try and, oh, this is awkward. Now, if it's around coaching, it's probably easy to gravitate towards more sporty people. And we spoke an episode, I think it was one, around, do you just stay in your coaching bubble, my basketball bubble, my football bubble? Is it safer there, or are they the judgmental ones? So do I look at a different sport? But I'm rambling now. I think it's so important to have somebody. I just think we could discuss about how do you find that person, and you know, can we play a part in doing that?
Yeah, what would you suggest? What would you say is, right, here's the first steps that you should take or should consider if you wanted to find a coach, developer, or mentor to help you with your coaching?
Well, if I could, before that step, what I'd do is I'd get out a piece of paper and I'd write down everybody that's in your network. I'd write it down
Yeah,
on a
great
piece of
point.
paper. Whether you call it a network or you just call it a map or whatever, put everyone down, look up, you know, tags and labels and patterns. Are they all in one sport? Are there clusters? What's the strength of the relationship? Who's missing from that piece of paper? And, you know, are they all friends? Are they all the, hey, Nick, how'd I get on today? Jenny, you were brilliant. Great job. Oh, we're all flowery and friendly. Or actually, Jen, have you thought about this? What do you think about that? Or I'm just lost a championship game. Who do I pick the phone up to? You know, like I was thinking about, did this conversation with a coach a couple of months ago, and I was thinking about the answer myself. Sometimes my family are brilliant. Sometimes. Because when I pick up the phone, they're completely detached from my working world. So I could have had an absolute mare. I could have had a heavy load, a really tough conversation, you know, a tricky day. And they'll go, well, how are things? Did you hear this place is having a sale? Well, it's only a couple of weeks to Christmas. And straight away, I'm switched from that. And it's back to me and the Jenny relationship I have with them. Or I lost a big game, ma'am, the other day. But did you have fun, Jen? I should listen. The girls are delighted you're coaching them now. That's brilliant. And then I could pick up the phone to, you know, some of the critical friends, and they might go into the, you know, what behaviors did you notice? Blah, 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 you know, or like there's different people in different spaces. So that the quick follow on from that is, if it is a coach, developer, or a mentor that you see is missing from your sheet, try and see where you can make the connections. You could come to one of us and we could make a connection through UK coaching. We could look at different bodies and pools of people that we could connect you with in a community of practice to have a conversation. Like there's formal channels and informal channels for sure. I'm rambling. What are your thoughts?
I think the first point about, yeah, just plotting out who's around you, I think that's absolutely a brilliant idea. I think people probably have more people around them than they realize. And especially, you know, if you're looking for a coach, developer, or a mentor, be clear on what you want them for. You know, so are you looking to go to this person because they can help you with coaching practice, or tactical understanding, or behaviors, or whatever it might be that you think you might want to get better at? Or is it just a general look, you know, you just love them to come down and watch you coach because they've been around and have got a lot more gray hair than you know? So I think being really clear on what you're looking for is really helpful. But what I would also say is reach out to people, right? Like, you know, through social media now, you know, if they're not on there, generally you can probably find someone that might know them if there was somebody specifically you wanted to kind of speak to. Because what's the worst they're going to say? Sorry, I'm stacked out on other stuff at the moment,
Yeah.
but maybe look at this person, or, you know,
Yeah.
that's probably the worst.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And it's so true, because during COVID particularly, what I've noticed is people reach out and go, oh, hey, Jen, have 30 minutes, do you have an hour to have a chat about something? Absolutely. Or I might go, have you thought about this and this person? So you're not just connecting to that person, but you're connecting to that person's network as well when you do start to build. And you would be so surprised with people who you may, like, if people say, oh, they're too far up that path, they'd never speak to me. I've had oceans of people come back, so you will not believe who I've spoken to this week. But like you said there, have a kind of idea and a gauge on why you're contacting that person, I would say, for sure. But it's so important to have somebody.
Yeah, I like that, just as the time piece as well, because everybody's time precious, and we all have different things going on. But can I have 15 minutes? I really like your view on this little thing. Or I'd like 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour to sit down, but be specific. So the person at the other end might be able to say, well, I can't give you an hour because I'm back to back all day, but I've got a window of 20 minutes here if that will help.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of approach is also really helpful.
So do you want to tell them about the surprise that we've created?
Well, I mean, that you've created. I can't take any credit for this. I just said, good job, Jen. So I think you should be the one to share it.
Well, listen, I've made it out to be a bigger deal than it is now. But last week we kind of said connect with 10 people before the end of December or 2020. So what we've done is we've put together a connection calendar for you. Now, it was going to come out earlier in the week until we saw Mindflick release theirs and just reeled it back in a little bit, because that was gorgeous. It's like looking at like Fifth Avenue, Saks Fifth Avenue kind of window. So on that, what we've done is gathered some people, some websites or companies, and some podcasts that we share some interest or we've picked from other people, and we've put some suggestions in there. You may like them, you may not. That's up to your kind of critical analysis to dive into. But we know that people at the other end of that are willing to connect. I mean, we mentioned Nick Shackleton-Jones last week, may not have oceans of time, but replies really well on social media to different things, as will other people. And from that, you'll see other, maybe tap into different networks of people and categories or areas of interest. So watch out for that. It's coming out tomorrow, I think, maybe. Have a look on
well, it won't. It will have come out before this episode goes out, won't it?
Oh yeah, it will. Good point. It'll be out. You'll see a link. Connect.
You can find it.
Hello.
You can find it. It'll be on the Twitter feed.
It can be.
And you know what I'm doing tonight?
What's that?
Coaching.
Oh, are you? Again. Oh, we never even spoke about your new role. Let's finish on a high. That's cool.
Yeah. So first session. I mean, I won't be coaching tonight. I'm just going down to have a watch, really. But the under 12s are on first, and then the first team we've got a couple of hours. So I shall be going down. I've had a few meetings this week, conversations with the chairman and the coaching staff there, just to kind of share some plans on, let's build an identity, a set of values and behaviors that we stand for, and then start to talk about, playing philosophy and coaching and match day and what does it look like and how do we approach it. And it's exciting, but best of all is I get to get out on the grass tonight. Happy days.
Happy days. Let's connect all those cool things into the next episode.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And lucky them, eh? Lucky them.
Well, ish.
Well, have a fabulous week, everybody, and check out the calendar. We'll get the link out. You'll see it on our social media. So at I have to edit that bit out. You do it. You do it every week, and you do it so well. Okay, leave a pause. Hang on.
At Coach Convo.
And coachconversation@gmail.com is our email. We've had a couple of really nice emails coming back with some feedback, some questions that we'll incorporate into the future sessions. So have a lovely week and see you next week. Bye.